So as I was thinking about this whole idea of like, how do we really leverage the slower seasons in our business? Because let's be real, right now, end of the year with holidays, people just aren't quite as focused on their own health. They're also, not as excited to spend money on something else just because we're all trying to save the holidays and Christmas presents and whatnot. So as I was thinking about this, though, I thought, what keeps me going when I get a little discouraged? And truly, it's just going back to those stories of success, whether it's your own journey, whether it's a fellow coach's journey, whether it's someone in your challenge group. Like when you think about the progress that people are making and how lives are being changed, that to me is where everything starts, because that is our why. Like that's why all of us signed up to do this, to help our own life, but then to also invest in other people's lives. So today I just wanted to take a few minutes and really share 5 things that I would love for you guys to think about and implement in your own businesses during the slower times, so that we can really leverage this time to grow our businesses in the rest of the year and then in 2017. So I have said this before, but the first thing is really just getting into a good mindset. And when we were at the leadership retreat, Miguel Carrasco, which if you don't follow him already, he's one of the top Canadian coaches. He just talked about the importance of getting in the best state of mind before you do anything in your business. And so what that means is like, if you see an email come through, if you see a message come through, and you're at a point where you're just like a little low on energy, or you're feeling in a little bit of a funk, like do whatever you have to do to get yourself pumped up to be in this excited mindset about what it is that you have to offer. And I think the same is true really when we find ourselves feeling a little discouraged, or when we find ourselves feeling like, gosh, I've gotten a lot of no's this week, or I've gotten a lot of, not right nows, is just to go back to, why did I start? And what's my mindset? How am I gonna create momentum for myself when it's not being created by new purchasers or new challengers or new coaches? How am I gonna keep my momentum going? And when you hear complaints, and when you hear, like, let's say a fellow coach reaches out to you and they're like, gosh, I just can't believe how hard this month is. Like, what are you going to do in that moment? Are you going to be like, oh my gosh, I know it's so hard, add to that negativity? Or are you going to be like, yeah, you know what? It is a little slower right now. I get it. But this is only temporary. This is going to get better. Like, keep working. And I think that if you can start with that positive mindset in your own mind, it's contagious. It's contagious to your challengers, contagious to your team. But complaining doesn't really get you anywhere. Like, I'm all about being real. I think we need to acknowledge what's actually going on. But at the same time, if you sit in that complaint too long, if you sit in that unbelief too long, you're only gonna tumble down this spiral that's just not gonna be good for your business. So number 1 is get into the right mindset. Now, how do you do that? I really think this is why personal development is so important. In fact, for me, it's the number 1 vital behavior, because I struggle emotionally, and I have, struggled with depression and anxiety before. And so if I'm not spending the time to get into the right mindset, I crumble. Like, everything else crumbles, because I don't want to work out. I don't want to eat healthy. I don't want to do anything if my mind is not positioned right. And so I listen to professional development whenever I get a little bit down. And I pour that truth in, whether it's, a podcast or a sermon. Usually when it's more emotionally draining, or when I'm feeling a little bit down, I'll go to a sermon. Something that has biblical truth in it, that's keeping me grounded in what it is that I'm doing. A couple different podcasts that I really enjoy are Passion City Church. I go to Louis Giglio is like the guy that I go to if I just need kick in the butt as far as truth and perspective goes. My own church here in Minnesota is called Eaglebrook, and we have all of our sermons are online too. Those are really good. But any anything you can do to just pour truth into your mind is really the starting point. Don't overlook development. Don't overlook getting in the right mindset. I said this in a video in some group this week, but really the day that I decided I was going to be a diamond coach someday is when my whole business started to take off, because I was no longer in this point of, will it happen? Maybe it's going to happen. I don't know if I have what it takes. When I decided right then and there, yes, this is going to happen, it changed this thing in my mind to go, okay, I do have what it takes. Okay, no matter how long it takes, I'm not going to quit. So get yourself in that mindset. Whatever it is that you need to do, have that be your number one thing to do in the slow season, is to just keep that mindset positive. Number 2, don't sit back, right? So I think the easiest thing to do in a slower season is to sit back and go, I'm just going to wait until maybe I'm getting a few more yeses, or until things pick up a little bit. So one thing that Melanie Metros talks about all the time is how during October, November, and December, she is working twice as hard. She's not slowing down. She's not saying, oh, cool, I'm going to take this opportunity to just enjoy life and then I'll get back to it. A lot of people are going to do that. A lot of people are going to say, okay, this is too much. I can't handle the nose, and they're going to give up. So don't sit back. Get into the game and do your power hours. Oh yeah, I'll mute everyone. That's a good idea. Okay, is that better? You guys hear me? I'll try to talk a little louder too. So yeah, don't sit back. Make sure that you're showing up to your business every day, and don't reinvent the wheel. I think a lot of times when we get a little discouraged, we're like, oh, I'm just going to try something new and different. But really, it's not any special training or anything fancy that's going to get you growth. It's just going to be that consistency. All right, number 3, double down on your efforts. Instead of backing away, go, okay, cool. I can't control these people who are saying no to me, but I can control how many people I reach out to. I can control how my power hours look. And so I want you to have an honest conversation with yourself and go, okay, what do my power hours look like right now? Because I'll be honest, again, when I'm in a negative mindset, when I'm feeling a little low on life, my power hours kind of suck. They're just not quite as charged up with energy as they are when things are going well. So I really have to go and take a good look in the mirror and go, am I actually reaching out to more people right now? Am I actually, having really awesome workouts? Am I dialing in my nutrition? Am I doing a lot of personal development? Because again, I just think that when we let that unbelief and that doubt creep in, then maybe we're not as apt to reach out to someone who's a little bit more scary to reach out to. Maybe we're not engaging in those uncomfortable conversations because we're just a little bit scared. And so I think it's really important to just double down on your efforts. Do twice as much as you would normally do so that you can make up for maybe the people who are saying no. And you guys, here's the deal. Even though people are going to say no right now, your efforts are not wasted. You're still planting seeds. They're still going to know that, hey, when the time is right, Amber's there and she's still coaching. Sarah's there, Aaron's there, and they're going to be there for me when I'm ready. But if you stop having those conversations, or if you only have the easy conversations with I find myself doing this once in a while. It's like, oh, I'll reach out to that person because they're easier to reach out to. They're not as scary. If they say no, they won't think anything worse of me or whatever. Instead, I want to challenge you guys to really go after the people who are scary in your mind, who you're like, they probably would say no. You never know. And if they say no now, at least they know you want them and that you want them on your team. Number 4, the slow season is really a great time to get your systems in place. So if you don't have many challengers right now, if you don't have many new coaches right now, don't replace your power hour for building systems, because first and foremost, you have to be still doing your power hours. But I'm talking about if you don't have as much time right now to be checking in one-on-one with challengers, use that time to build your processes. I think a lot of people will say, I'm going to wait until I have 10 coaches to really get my processes down. And instead of waiting come up with a solid plan. Like, what if on January 1st, you had an amazing process in place for your next challenge? You had all your posts written out. You had everything ready so that you can just plug people in instead of going, oh crap, all of a sudden I have people and I don't know how to keep up with all this. So number 4 is get your systems. And number 5 is just don't quit. Like, truly, I can't say that enough. I know the path that you're on. I know where you're headed. And if you just don't take the exit, you're going to get somewhere. You're going to build a business. And so during this season, when you're like, I don't know if coaching's for me, don't let a slow time of year or people who say no to you hold you back from building a successful business. In fact, I would love to know how many no's you have gotten over the last few weeks, because if you haven't gotten any no's, to me, that shows that you're not doing enough work. The no's in my mind are a good thing, because they are showing that you're acting on something. You're doing something in your business. But if you got a few no's, if you've only gotten 2 no's in the last few weeks, and you're like, yeah, everyone's saying no, that's more concerning to me, because it means that you're quitting. It means that you're not being consistent and putting yourself out there. I am sending so many invites. I'm presenting the business opportunity to so many people this week, because I have my Coach Basics starting on Monday. And it's hard, people say no, but am I stopping? No. I'm like, okay, I'm going to send out twice as many people. I'm going to connect with twice as many people, because that's what I need to do right now. So my point is, you're in control of how you use this time. If you don't have, again, if you're not busy helping challengers get results right now, use that time to build your processes. Use that time to reach out to more and more people. But don't go, oh, it's slow, I'm just going to not work as hard. I think this is when we have to work twice as hard. And let me just tell you, when January comes, you guys are going to be so excited that some of these people that you're reaching out to right now are finally going to come around, and they are going to trust you, because you've been there through thick and thin. You weren't just there in January to get a quick sale, but they've seen you all throughout all of these months. The last thing I wanted to talk about is make sure that your own fitness journey is a priority through the holidays. Think through seriously how you've been doing with nutrition, how you've been doing with your workouts, and don't let down on that, because the results that you guys keep getting now, that's what's going to bring more people into your community this next month and in January. But if you show up January 1st and you're like, oh man, I really let myself go, and that's your message on January 1st, people aren't going to trust that. They're going to be like, oh, well, why would I trust her? She, not that we have to be perfect, but I do think that now is a really great time to set a really good example for everyone who's watching you. So with that said, I would love to just take a few minutes and answer any questions you guys have right now, anything that's been difficult right now, any encouragement you want to share with other coaches right now. Just want to kind of open it up for a few minutes. Feel free to talk or chat in this little chat box, whatever. Anyone?
I have a question, and this is pretty, I think, basic, but one thing that I really have a lot of anxiety with, I guess, is like how, and I know a lot of like inviting is about building relationships and things like that, but do you have any tips in terms of like how to have the right language in terms of inviting somebody, like, oh, hey, I'm just wanted to see how you're doing, and I'm starting a accountability group, or something like that? Like, kind of what has been your best like go-to?
Yeah, I mean, for me, like, I usually will just lead with a compliment, like, or something that's going on with their life. So I'll be like, hey, I noticed that you have this going on, just wanted to see like how that's been going for you, or congratulations on something. And then I'll usually follow it up with some kind of a comment, like, or compliment. Like, I tend to lead more with a business opportunity as opposed to challenge groups, because I have on my list of people, kind of people who I know have the right mindset for coaching. So I will lead with, hey, I have a group coming up. I think you'd be an amazing coach, but to start, I would love for you just to go through one of my challenge groups, see if it's a good fit for you. And after that, we can talk more about coaching. So I would say that I tend to, like, as far as cold calls go, I do that more with the coaching opportunity than with the challenge groups, because oftentimes I think that with a challenge group, it can kind of come across like, oh, you need to lose weight or something like that.
Right, which is like my fear. I don't want to come across that way at all.
Right, exactly. So I think, I mean, for me, because I never think that, like about people, but I do focus those cold conversations more on the coaching. But then the other conversations that I have behind the scenes on Messenger are more just like checking in with people, building connections, figuring out what they're up to. And in those conversations, I really let them tell me about a problem that they're having. And then I'll insert like, well, I'm sure you've noticed I have these fit camp or, challenge groups, whatever you guys call them. And if you're ever interested, I think it might really help give you that energy that you need to have with your kids, or, just say it in a way that it's not like salesy. Like in those conversations, I'm just talking and chatting and figuring out what they need. Erin said, I've been focusing hard on people that like my posts. Start with those people to thank them for liking my posts and supporting my journey and asking them if they're interested in learning more. That's so good. It's just, Erin, do you want to talk about that a little bit more? Because I think that's a super awesome strategy.
Yeah, I'm happy to talk a little more about it. It's actually been working really well for me. Because it's helped me dig a little deeper into my warm market. And by doing that, I've been getting some really good referrals from those people, because it's just like a quick way to reconnect. By just saying, hey, thanks so much for your support on what I'm posting and what I'm putting out there into the world. That's a little bit out of my comfort zone and totally out of the box for me. And I feel like by thanking people and telling them that you appreciate that they're noticing your vulnerability, that just right out of the gate is a really genuine way to start the connection and the conversation. So that's been really good for me personally. And I've been seeing some good feedback from good responsiveness in that way.
Yeah, I think and it's just such a natural way to engage with them, because they've already done something to engage with you. It's just a very authentic way to reconnect. I love that. Molly said she does that too. It's awesome. Megan said, I used to do that, but new people have not liked my post, so I was contacting same old, and it seemed like I'm trying to break out of the warm market still. Yeah, and I think you just kind of, again, it's always about adjusting and figuring out where you are, and when you reach that point where you haven't gotten more likes, then, you figure out a little bit of a different strategy. Megan, I love that. Judy said she's done that. She might need to rephrase it. Yeah, keep trying. You just never know. Some people might not reply. One tip that I've had when I've done that before is just to end with a question. Like, instead of just being like, hey, thank you, thank you for liking my post, then like ask a follow-up question like, so I saw you're up to this. Tell me a little bit more. How's that going, or something. Really, your goal with that is just to keep the conversation going in some regard. It doesn't matter what it's about. Megan's asking, do you ladies do that on Instagram too? You guys do that on Instagram too? Sarah's shaking, nodding her head yes.
I'll kind of add to the Instagram. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Instagram's just a little bit different in that it's kind of hard. It's kind of harder to have like a direct message conversation because it limits your characters, how many, whatever you can add. But the way that Instagram is just different because it feels like you have to engage more on the other people's posts. So if it seems like it's somebody that would be a really good fit as like a coach on your team, or somebody who would really benefit from being in your challenge group, like I just have gone and followed a whole bunch of people, and then I just make it a point to constantly comment on their stuff. And then typically they'll start engaging more on your posts. And I've had about 3 different challengers come from just that, like people I don't know, but somebody that I intentionally went and said, like, you are like me. That's how I see myself in you. And I've just kind of done it that way. And it's actually helped grow my Instagram following too, because then they kind of like, if they mention you in a comment or a post, other people see it and draw you to their page. So it's just kind of this cycle that if you're just being nice and you're just talking to people and really focusing on like what's going on in their lives, it just kind of happens naturally. But I had to get out of the mindset of like, I want you for my challenge group, and kind of put on this hat of like, I want to be your friend. And that's kind of how I've shifted, because I think that like Judy, I think one thing that I did in the beginning is I think I like jumped on it too quick. And it scared a lot of people away. But if you just take the time to develop the relationships with people, like when you're doing your power hour and it says invite, like if you're connecting with people, like I just kind of replaced it with like connect, and plant the seed and show people you care about them, and just be a friend to people. Then they'll start to kind of trust you more, and they'll share their problems with you. And that's when you can say, like Amber said, like, you know, I would love to introduce you to this community of women that I have. You know, we're all moms and this is what we're doing. And it just, I don't know. It just, you have to figure out how to do it more natural and what feels comfortable to you.
Yeah. And I think that's where, like, just like what you were saying, the connect versus the invite, like that, the invite gives me the anxiety. The connecting, I can do that, you know, and then I think letting it naturally flow. And even if it takes like a month or 2 or 3 before people commit, then that's okay.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's huge. And one thing, if you guys haven't watched, I don't know, maybe it was a year ago or so, Michelle Myers did like a power hour training. I'm sure it's over in Team Iron somewhere. But that is so good in terms of building relationships with people on Instagram and Facebook. But one thing she suggests is like connect with new people every day on Instagram, but then make a note of who those people are. Like what are their handles, so that you can go back and keep investing in that relationship, as opposed to just like commenting on their stuff once and then not commenting again. Well, sometimes it's kind of tough to remember that. And the way that Instagram works now, it's like you're not always going to see them show up in your feed, so you got to be more intentional than that. All right, anything else that you guys want to talk about or share about? Comment on stories too. Yeah, it's true. That's a good point, Molly. Comment on stories. It's good too. Like when I get more comments on a certain story than another, and I'm still trying to be better about being consistent with stories. But when I do kind of take a mental note of this is what I get more comments on, then I'm like, okay, I should share more of that. That's what people are connecting to, which is just the cool thing about stories. Anything else that you guys want to chat about? Any questions? Well, if you hopped on a little late, be sure to go back. I'll post the recording in the group. But I just shared again 5 things to get into just to leverage your business in the slow season. And you guys keep going. Like what you're doing now matters so much. And again, like when you question yourself, think about the people out there who need you to show up, who need you to connect with them. Because of what you're doing, like they're going to be around for their families longer than before. They're going to have more energy to play with their kids. Their lives really will become more healthy and more fulfilling. So don't lose sight of that. Always go back to your why. Always go back to the right mindset and just keep going. I'm seriously just like so excited for you guys to experience January, because it is going to give you such an incredible boost in your business, especially if you're consistent now. Well, thank you guys so much. Erin says thank you all. Thanks, Erin. You're so sweet. I hope that you guys have a great Thanksgiving. We won't have a call next week, so it'll be the week after. But thank you so much for joining, and I will post this to the group a little later. All right, bye guys.